Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really interesting topic, the global market for sterols. We've got our hands on a new report, the Sterols Market Report 2025, the global edition. It's from Cognitive Market Research, published just this March 2025.
That's right. And sterols, they might not be something everyone talks about daily, but they are, well, increasingly vital across quite a few industries.
Definitely.
So our plan for this deep dive is really to pull out the key stuff from this report, give you a clear view of where this market is now, where it's heading, without drowning you in data.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get right into it then. The report kicks off with the market size overall. For 2025, they're projecting the global sterols market to hit USD 2,460 million.
Yeah, which is, already a pretty significant number.
It is.
But what's really compelling, I think, is the growth they're forecasting. It's expected to climb to USD 362.07 million by 2033.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a leap. What does that translate to in terms of annual growth?
So the report calculates a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, at 5.80%. That's for the period 2025 through 2033.
5.8%.
Yeah, almost 6% steady growth year on year for, 8 years? It suggests a really robust expansion, and they're using 2024 as the base year for these calculations, looking back at data from 2021.
Right, okay. So steady, significant growth ahead. Let's break this down geographically. Where's the action happening now, and where's the growth really expected to take off?
Well, right now, North America has the biggest piece of the pie. It's about 37% of the global market for 2025. That works out to USD 910.20 million.
Okay, the leader then.
For now, yes.
Right.
But their growth, the projected CAGR through 2033, is a bit more moderate, 4.3%.
Interesting.
Within North America, the U.S. is obviously the powerhouse. That's about USD 718 million with a 4.1% CAGR. And that seems largely driven by, all the demand for heart-healthy foods, plant-based options, things we see everywhere now.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the rest of North America, Canada, Mexico.
Canada's showing a bit more momentum, actually. A 5.1% CAGR. Market size around USD 109 million. The report suggests that's linked to growing awareness about functional foods, especially for cholesterol.
Right.
And Mexico's solid, too. 4.8% CAGR, about USD 83 million. Seems like a general rise in health consciousness there.
Okay, so North America leads, but maybe not the fastest growing. What about Europe?
Europe's the second largest region. It holds 29% of the market in 2025. That's USD 713.40 million. Their overall projected CAGR is 4.9%.
Okay, pretty similar growth rate to North America overall then.
Pretty similar, yeah. Germany's a key player there, over USD 141 million market and growing at 5.1%. Probably reflects, high awareness around heart health. The UK is also strong, actually a bit faster growth at 5.7% CAGR on a market of about USD 120 million. Maybe more focus on preventative health there.
Could be. And the report breaks down Europe even further. Right?
It does. You see varied rates. Russia's at 3.9% CAGR, France 4.1%, Italy 4.3%, Spain 4.0%.
Okay.
Then you've got smaller markets like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg. They're all hovering sort of in the mid-4s to low 5% CAGR range. The rest of Europe collectively is around 3.6%. So steady, but like you said, not exactly explosive.
Right, not compared to. Wasn't there another region the report really highlighted for growth?
Exactly. That would be the Asia-Pacific region, APAC. Currently, it's about 24% of the global market in 2025, roughly USD 590 million.
Okay.
But and this is the key part, the projected CAGR for APAC between 2025 and 2033 is 8.5%.
Wow, 8.5%. That's significantly higher.
It really is. That makes it the fastest growing region by quite a margin.
So what's fueling that kind of growth in APAC?
It's a mix of things. China is a huge factor, of course. Their market is nearly USD 250 million and growing at 8.0%.
Okay.
And that seems to be driven by, well, a couple of things happening at once. You've got shifts towards more Western-style diets in some areas, which can raise cholesterol concerns.
Right.
But also, you have a growing middle class, more health awareness, more focus on preventative health. So they're actively seeking out things like sterile fortified foods.
Interesting combination.
Oh, yeah.
What about other parts of APAC?
India is another standout, smaller market now, maybe USD 59 million, but look at the CAGR, 10.2%.
10%.
Yeah. Driven by rising health awareness and, unfortunately, rising rates of cardiovascular issues. We're also seeing really strong growth in Southeast Asia as a whole. That's 9.3% CAGR. And then solid numbers, 7-8% range in places like Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan.
So APAC is definitely the region to watch for dynamism. What about the other regions, South America, Middle East, Africa? Are they significant?
They're smaller pieces of the global market, but still showing decent growth. South America is about 4% of the market, USD 93 million or so, with a 6.5% CAGR overall. Brazil leads there at 7.1%. The Middle East is similar, also around 4% share, maybe USD 98 million, but slightly faster growth at 7.1% CAGR. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are showing strong figures, perhaps linked to rising heart disease rates and health spending. And Africa accounts for about 2.2%, USD 54 million, growing at 6.1% CGR. South Africa is the main market there.
Got it. Okay, that paints a really clear picture of the global spread. Now let's dig into why this market is growing.
Yeah.
What are the fundamental drivers the report points to?
Well, a big one, as we kind of touched on, is the growing consumer demand for plant-based and natural ingredients. Especially in functional foods and dietary supplements, people want natural solutions.
Absolutely. That trend is everywhere. What else?
Tied into that is the increasing awareness specifically about sterols and their cardiovascular health benefits. The science gets out there, people hear about lowering cholesterol naturally.
Can they look for products that offer that? Makes sense.
Exactly. And then there's also just the increasing use of sterols by the industry itself, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. They're incorporating them more and more into formulations.
So consumer pull and industry push working together. Are there any roadblocks, any restraints mentioned?
Yes, a couple of key ones. The cost of actually producing and extracting sterols can be quite high. That can, affect the final price point for consumers.
Sure.
And also regulations. There can be complex regulatory hurdles and pretty strict labeling requirements depending on the country or region, which can slow things down a bit.
Right. Always a factor. Now, looking forward, what about market trends? What's shaping the future direction here?
A really significant trend is the demand for sterols that are not just plant-based, but specifically sustainably sourced and non-GMO.
The sustainability angle, important.
Consumers are thinking more holistically. And related to that is a growing preference for cholesterol-lowering options that fit vegan or vegetarian lifestyles, which, of course, plant sterols do very well.
That fits perfectly with those broader consumer shifts we see.
Yeah.
Okay, the report also gets into segmentation, right? Like where these sterols come from, the raw materials.
Correct. Right now, vegetable oil is the dominant source. Think soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil. They're widely available, relatively cost-effective, and have good sterol content. These are the sterols you often find in those cholesterol-lowering margarines or fortified drinks.
Okay. Is that changing at all? Any other sources gaining ground?
Yes, and this is quite interesting. The report identifies tall oil as the fastest-growing raw material segment.
Tall oil, what's that?
It's actually a byproduct from the paper and pulp industry from processing pine trees.
Okay.
And it's gaining traction partly because it's seen as a more sustainable source. Plus, its applications are expanding beyond just food and nutraceuticals into areas like cosmetics, too. It taps right into that sustainability trend we just mentioned.
Fascinating. A byproduct becoming a key growth driver.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the different types of sterols? Is one type more dominant?
Beta-sitosterol is currently the leader. It holds the biggest share. Its cholesterol-lowering effects are probably the most well-known and researched.
Right.
So you see it used widely in pharmaceuticals, functional foods, supplements. It's kind of the go-to sterol for that main benefit.
And is there a fastest growing type of sterol, like there was a fastest growing source?
Yes, that would be stigmasterol. Its growth is being fueled by expanding use in a couple of areas. In pharma, it's used to synthesize certain steroid hormones. And in cosmetics, it's valued for antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Plus, there's growing interest in its potential in functional foods, too, beyond just beta-sitosterol.
So beta-sitosterol leads, but stigmasterol is gaining fast because it's more versatile, perhaps.
It seems that way, yeah. More diverse applications are definitely driving its growth. The report also briefly mentions campesterol and brassicasterol as other types.
Got it. Okay, so we know where they come from and what types there are. How are they being used, the application segments?
Well, the food segment is the largest application market right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's all those fortified dairy products, margarines, spreads, beverages designed to help lower cholesterol.
Yeah, the most visible use case, probably.
Definitely. And regulatory approvals have really paved the way for that, confirming they're safe and effective in food.
And what other application areas are important?
Nutraceuticals is the other big one, and it's growing rapidly. This is driven by that demand for natural plant-based supplements for things like, yes, cholesterol, but also immune support, general cardiovascular wellness.
The whole preventative health movement again.
Exactly. People taking supplements to stay healthy. The report also notes cosmetics as an application area, though it doesn't really detail its market share, but stigmasterol's role there fits.
Right. It's interesting how broad the uses are becoming. Did the report touch on the companies involved? The competitive landscape?
It did, yeah, although there was a slightly strange mention of the tool bags market, which seems total out of place, probably just an editing slip in the source.
Uh-huh. Okay. Good to know. But actual sterile industry activity.
Yes. For instance, it mentions that in July 2024, a company called Lipo Foods launched something called Lipo-A-Tol. It's described as a palm-free, water-dispersible phytosterol system.
Water dispersible, so easier to mix into things.
That seems to be the idea. Easier to incorporate into drinks or different food types, specifically for heart health. Contains 90% plant sterols, apparently, so an innovation in delivery.
Interesting. Any other examples, partnerships, acquisitions?
Yeah, in June 2024, it highlights a partnership between Cargill and the U.S. grocery chain Kroger. They expanded the availability of milk fortified with plant sterols using Cargill's CoroWise brand under Kroger's Active Lifestyle range.
Ah, bring it more mainstream.
Exactly. And looking back a bit further to June 2022, it notes Kensing acquired Vitae Naturals. This move apparently created a major player, especially in Europe, focusing on plant sterol esters and natural vitamin E for food, nutrition, and skincare. So consolidation is happening too.
Okay, so we're seeing innovation, mainstream partnerships, and industry consolidation. This has been really thorough. If we were to boil it all down, what are the main takeaways from this report on the sterols market?
Well, I think the big picture is clear. The global sterols market is definitely growing, and quite significantly. It's powered by, health trends, the demand for natural ingredients.
Right.
APAC stands out as the fastest growing region, really dynamic. While beta-sitosterol from vegetable oil is the current dominant force, we're seeing important shifts towards tall oil as a sustainable source and towards stigmasterol for its wider range of uses beyond just cholesterol.
So a market that's both established and evolving quite actively. Okay, final thought for our listeners to maybe ponder on. Given this increasing focus on sustainability, like with tall oil and the broadening applications we discussed, what other maybe novel uses or even new sources for these compounds might pop up in the next few years? It feels like there's still a lot more potential here than just cholesterol management.
Absolutely. Where else could these compounds make a difference? It's a great question. This market definitely seems to have more layers yet to uncover.
Indeed. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.